Well, let's stay with the matters involving the President and his State of the Nation address. President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver his State of the Nation address later today. Eskom is once again expected to feature prominently. The power utilities' troubles are unending. But time and again, Ramaphosa has said it cannot be allowed to fail. So, what might be the plan? Joining me this morning is energy thought leader Mike Rousseau. Mr. Rousseau, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For waking up with us. If the President had his way, ideally, what would he be announcing tonight about Eskom, which, by the way, has the entire economy by the throat?
That is correct. There's one thing neither the President or the ministers nor Eskom is talking about, which is, in my view, arguably the biggest problem that Eskom has, and unless it fixes it, it cannot rectify itself. They correctly talk about maintenance and the fact that maintenance has to be done. I agree with that. We know, unfortunately, that they're using load shedding to make space for that maintenance, which I think is sad and, in my view, also unnecessary. The big problem is Eskom are not planning correctly for maintenance. So what happens is a plant is taken out of service during load shedding for maintenance, and then the maintenance cannot be executed because the plan is incomplete. So I would like to leave that the planning of maintenance is the biggest problem, and it has been for a long time. And unless they rectify that, we are in for a bad period for a long time.
Mr. Rousseau, the President was speculated in the lead up to this day of the State of the Nation address that he was going to announce some kind of framework agreement coming out of the discussions that have been ongoing at NEDLAC. But we know that other labor unions have said, no, we are not going to support pensions, workers' pensions being used to bail out at least half of Eskom's debt. The question here, does ratings agency Moody's give us another chance, or do they basically tip us over to official junk status?
Yeah, I think the threat of that is real, and for as long as we're facing load shedding on a daily basis as we are now, I fear that situation is becoming worse by the day. So they have to address that issue and to start working towards reducing, hopefully eliminating load shedding. So load shedding is a big evil, and as you correctly pointed out, it has a serious impact on the economy. And that's why I said we have to start talking about the quality of planning. In fact, I'd go so far as to say, if a plant is not being properly and comprehensively planned for, it should not be allowed to be taken out of service. Certainly not at the expense of load shedding.
Let me ask you this question. We know that the President announced in his last State of the Nation address that Eskom was going to be split into 3 components.
Yeah.
And that seems to have died down, that rhetoric.
Yeah.
If we use the example of SAA as a demonstration of how easy it was for his administration, him included, by the way, leading the charge, how easy it was for him to cave in at the slightest disgruntlement, are we likely to ever see Eskom split into those 3 components?
That's a very good question. I do believe that at the current time, the so-called completely splitting of Eskom into 3 units, completely independent units, is something that we need in the long term, but not in the short term. So it sounds like the discussion is around divisionalizing Eskom into 3 units in preparation for that move. How long it would take, as you correctly pointed out, depends on how the various stakeholders respond to that.
We're out of time, but I've got to put this one quickly to you. Eskom is bloated. Those were the words of Tito Mboweni.
Yeah.
Again, you have the ANC alliance partner, COSATU, saying, nope, we're not going to allow you to do that. Similar question. Are we likely to see anyone retrenched at Eskom, or is the situation going to stay the same?
My sense is it's more than likely going to be more of the same. I don't think we're going to see major drastic moves in the short term anyway. Certainly the new CEO is not talking about that. So yeah, I think it's going to be a while before we see such drastic changes.
Goodness. Mike Rousseau, thank you very much for your time. Energy expert coming to talk to us about what the president perhaps could and would announce if he had his way.